Welcome to the Sport Integrity Global Alliance social media channels. I am Nuno, the Director of Comms and Media of SIGA, and I am happy to welcome Lord Johnatan Marland, Chairman of the Commonwealth Enterprise and Investment Council, and also a member of the SIGA Europe Advisory Board. We are going to have a five-question interview, and I would like to start with this one. What are the effective strategies that sports organizations, sponsors, and governments can use to boost economic ties and encourage global economic growth through sports?
Well, I think one of the biggest exporters for the United Kingdom is the Premier League. So it's a huge amount of money. It also brings in a lot of tourism. It brings in a lot of buying of kit and things like that. So it's a huge market. And sport, therefore, communicates with people in a way that no other physical activity does. And that's why it's very important that standards are set. And that is the importance of SIGA, of course, that it's setting standards or making sure that standards are set. So it's very important that standards are set for people who are watching it because it has got such huge global outreach.
Lord Marland, how can sport be used as a tool for strengthening international relations? And what best examples have you seen of this in action?
Well, of course, country-to-country sport is almost as big as a war. As we know, when Portugal plays as the United Kingdom or Spain, for example, it's a war, but of course it's a friendly war, and at the end of it, the losers lick their wounds and the winners are jubilant. But what it does is it allows people to visit countries who may not have visited them before, to understand the culture of those countries, to understand the way of life in those countries, and therefore to get a better understanding. And in the end, of course, it all adds to a great harmony, because the visitor experience is normally extremely good.
As a member of the SIGA Europe Advisory Board, could you explain the importance of integrity in sport and how it impacts societal values?
Well, again, it's about setting an example to society. If in a sport bad language or abusive behavior happens, then people feel that's a reasonable way to behave themselves. If they foul or cheat or are corrupt, people recognize that that could be a way they can behave themselves. So it's very important that integrity and the standards that SIGA pronounces on for everyone watching sport, because it has a way of affecting them.
Going deeper into this that you just mentioned, as we know, SIGA advocates for good governance in sports, sports betting integrity, financial integrity, and transparency, youth development and protection. Those are the key pillars of the universal standards. And I would like to know, in your personal view, which of these areas do you find more challenging and why?
I think the challenging thing for sport is a lot of the governing bodies have been behind the pace, if you know what I mean. They've preferred to self-govern. They haven't always done it well. You see across the world levels of corruption, levels of very bad administration being propounded through sport, which would never happen in business or in many other walks of life. And it is actually amazing that a business, which we call sport business, should be so far behind the pace of establishing its own governance and its own method of operating. And that's why SIGA is such an important organization, and the events it organizes, the discipline it tries to impose upon sports or to establish with sports of transparency, openness, and integrity is absolutely fundamental, because, as I said earlier, it affects people's way of life. people take their example from sportsmen, often more than politicians, certainly not more than politicians, from many other people in all walks of life. Their reference point is sportsmen. So the way sportsmen behave, the way the business is run, is absolutely fundamental.
So probably good governance would be your choice.
Good governance is my choice.
Okay. How do tools like the SIGA independent rating and verification system provide assurance to investors and sponsors that sports entities are compliant with the high integrity standards that are set in the universal standards?
Well, they're fundamental because it gives a rating system of adoption of these very important issues of integrity, of fairness, of good governance, etc. So the rating standard is very important. And if people are sensible, they'll adopt SIGA's rating standards and cooperate with SIGA, because it does set a bar of where sport should be.
Accountability is key in business and in sport.
Yeah,
that's why.
Without doubt.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Lord Johnatan Marland. It was a pleasure to have this brief conversation, and hope to see you soon.
Well, I'm looking forward to coming to the Azores, who are one of the key partners of SIGA, and talking to our members there about the great things that SIGA does. Thank you for having me.
Okay. Thank you very much.